breathing. It's something that we all do. In fact, on average, we do it 20,000 times each day. So if it's something that we spend so much of our time doing, in modern society, we spend very little time giving it the attention that I believe it deserves. But this hasn't always been the case. So breathwork, as we see today, originated from a yogic practice called pranayama, and it dates back to at least 700 BC. So pranayama is a Sanskrit word. And what I reckon is so beautiful about it is that the first half of the word prana directly translates to vital life force. And the second half of the word, ayama, means to expand, and yama, which means control. So pranayama pretty much directly means to expand and control our vital life force. So from ancient times, yogis have known the power of breath over our vitality and of our consciousness. So it's believed in a lot of the Eastern traditions that prana, or chi as it's known, moves throughout our body through different channels and centers. So some of you may know these centers as chakras and the channels as nadis. So in the yogic tradition, there's a number of ways that it's believed that we can accumulate this energy or this prana. So the first one is through nutritious food, beautiful fruits, vegetables, organics, nuts, all these beautiful foods that are really good for our body. So there's no denying that having a really good meal is going to give you that energy you need throughout the day. The second is through sleep. So there's nothing like a good night's sleep to restore our energy. So we can't say there's anything wrong with that one, can we? So both of those tie in really heavily with the modern idea of how we feel energized as mammals. Okay, the next one I think is really interesting. So the next one is state of mind. So for example, if we're doing something entertaining or something joyous, something that we're finding a lot of humor in, we might feel alive and full of energy. Whereas if we've had a really bad day and we're feeling a bit depressed, all we want to do is snuggle up in our bed because we're lacking that energy or that life force. So the fourth is the reason we're here today, well, for this section. So the fourth is breath. So the yogis have drawn a connection to the vitality offered by breath and our life force. And obviously, without breath, we have no life force. We're not alive. So that's obviously really important. Okay, but the funny thing is that the yoga tradition isn't the only group of people to recognize the importance of breath on life and on consciousness. So it has been seen throughout the world since ancient times. So we've got the Chinese. The Chinese use qi interchangeably, meaning both breath of air or life force and cosmic energy. Then travel over to ancient Greece. They've got the word pneuma, which was used to mean both the air that we breathe or the spirit that's in us all. Ki is a Japanese word, and it can be used to mean both breath as well as energy or lifelines. And this word ki appears a lot when we're in the martial arts context, which is quite interesting. Then even ancient Hebrew, the word ruach was used to mean spirit, wind, and breath. It's actually appeared in the first chapter of the Bible in Genesis, referring to the breath of life. So no matter what culture you're looking at, what part of the world we look towards, one thing we can agree upon is that breath holds immense power. So while from a cultural and a spiritual perspective, there's no denying that breath has been revered for millennia, from a modern scientific standpoint, we can look at breath and our ability to control and master it as a very useful tool to heal our physical body, our mental state, and take the reins of our emotional well-being. So if you want to see what impact breath can have on our body and what it can tell us about our health, then I have a quick test for you. The first thing we need to do is get our 2 fingers and find our pulse. This is probably the hardest bit, but you've all got one, I know, or you wouldn't be here today. So I'll give you a minute to find it. Got it? Okay, so now I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and feel what's happening to your pulse. Now slowly breathe out and see what you notice happen to your heart rate. So try this a few times and see if you can find a pattern emerge. So breathing in and out, in and out, in and out. So what you should have noticed is that as you breathe in, your heart rate speeds up, and when you breathe out, it slows down. This phenomena is known as heart rate variability. So the interesting thing about heart rate variability is that it's directly linked to something called vagal tone. So a higher heart rate variability usually means a better vagal tone. So that's a great way to measure it. But what is vagal tone? So vagal tone refers to how toned the vagus nerve is. So the vagus nerve is the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system that runs all the way from the brainstem to the colon, running through all our major organs in our body. So remember that branch of the nervous system that helps us to rest and digest? So that's what this is. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's a two-way street. So it both sends and it receives information between the major organs in the chest, such as the lung and the gut, and the brain. So because it works in both directions between the brain and the body, not only can our brain state control our breathing, for example, if we're feeling stressed, we're being chased by that drop bear, our breathing starts to get faster and shallower, but also we can flip it the other way, and we can breathe intentionally, steadily, deeply, and slowly to tell our brain through our vagus nerve that we're okay and we're safe. Because if we were running from something, if we were in some kind of immediate danger, we wouldn't be able to be just sitting here breathing steadily, intentionally, slowly, and deeply. We'd be in fight or flight. So what it does is it stops our body from releasing the stress chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline. So there we can get back to our resting state a lot easier. All right, so there's two ways that we can use breathwork to improve our mental health state and health. So the first is using certain breathing exercises when we're in stressful situations to help calm ourselves in the present. So that's like what I was just talking about, using intentional breathing to tell our brain that we're okay. But the second is by using breathwork consistently to strengthen the vagus nerve and to help it get more toned, just like you would if you were toning any other muscle in your body and wanting to get strength in it. So I'm going to show you how to use breathwork in both of those ways today.